A very good morning once again, and thank you for staying tuned to Sunrise at Sea here on CTV. Welcome to our views, and this is a place where we talk about candid and real-time or real-life conversations. My name is Agi Oase, and today we are talking about phone call etiquette, and in particular we are going to deliberate on the matter of late night phone calls. Now, talking about late night phone calls or nighttime communication, it falls into three categories, and that is personal, professional, and emergencies as well. Now, emergencies do not have anything to do with phone call etiquette, because if they call you when someone is dying or maybe they have had an accident, it has nothing to do with you're calling me at night. You'll probably be up to go and help in that moment. But then again, some people argue that calling me past 10 p.m. is very disrespectful and it's invasion of privacy, and different people, phone call etiquette when it comes to late night phone calls differs with different people. Some people feel like 8 p.m. is actually too late. And today we're actually talking about phone calls, not just from strangers, we're talking about from family, from friends, employers and employees as well, because there's people who encroach, there's employers and employees who encroach on other people's privacy by calling them late at night. But then, we are going to deliberate on this conversation, and joining me at the center of this conversation is Siobhan, Auma, and Apollo Sarah. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Well, I'm very sure that you have had this conversation over and over again. There's a time I think we were talking about it, and you said you do not like somebody calling you past 10 p.m. for your personal reasons, yes?
Yes.
So I would like to ask, just like I said earlier, it differs, the time differs with different people. Some people, it can even go up to midnight. That's when they feel I cannot pick up any calls past midnight. So the question that I'm asking today is, what time is too late to make a phone call, be it to a stranger, to a friend, to a family, and even your boo? Because some
those altogether, those are already so many categories. To boo, I mean, boo, I can call him at 2, at 1, he can do the same. I really don't care. He's my personal person. My friends, depending on what circle they are in you in the inner circle, are you in the outside circle? If you're in the inner circle, I would probably call you anytime. But again, it's a backtrack sort of effect. If you're my friend and I'm calling you at 1 a.m., the question would be, are you dating, or are you living with your husband, or are you living with your boyfriend? Would he be comfortable with me calling you at that time? I might be able to call you at that time and it is okay for you, but your spouse is not okay with it. When it comes to work, I do not expect calls past 7 p.m. Even 7 p.m. might be late. 6 p.m. I'm off duty, I'm off the clock. Why are you calling me? If it's urgent, send an email or send a WhatsApp. That is the easiest way I can respond. But when it comes to overall, I strongly keep telling myself that I do not receive calls past 10 p.m. Actually, what I do is I put my phone in do not disturb mode. So when you call, it goes off. However, I did learn a terrible lesson a couple of weeks ago. A friend of mine was in trouble and she needed my help, and my phone was in that mode. And I told myself, maybe if my phone hadn't been in, D&D mode, maybe I would have helped her out. But again, for my mental health, for me to get the adequate sleep I need, because I wake up quite early, I make sure by 10 p.m. no phone calls are coming through.
Okay, and for you, Sarah?
For me, I'm open, because it's called a mobile phone. It's called a mobile phone, and you're able to answer calls at any time of the day. Whenever somebody calls you, for me, I'm always curious to know why is somebody calling, or why would somebody need me. It's from that phone call when I will gauge whether this is a conversation I want to continue, or if it's a conversation I want to, discontinue right away.
Yes.
So if you're calling me, say in the middle of the night, to just say, hey, long time, I have not seen you, I'm like, I appreciate that you thought about me, but how about we continue this conversation in the morning? Do you understand what I mean? But I will always answer my phone. For me, that is it. Any time of the day, any time of the night, I will always answer my phone. Because you never know when there's going to be an emergency.
Yes.
It could even be an acquaintance you haven't heard from from years ago, calling you and saying, I couldn't call anybody, I'm very stranded, can you assist me, or advise on where I can get assistance from. So for me, my phone is always on hand.
Okay, and also late night phone calls, sometimes it's about the what.
Yeah.
Now I would like to know, how do you ascertain how do you ascertain the what? Because you could say, I will not receive a phone call from my employer past 10 p.m.
Yes.
But there could be an emergency or maybe a communication that they need to make.
Yes.
And yes,
Can they send a
maybe
WhatsApp?
okay, maybe you have work colleagues and they'll not be showing up the next day. They'll not be showing up the next day, and you need to be, you know, told in time that, you know what, prepare for tomorrow. So how about, you know, if you're not picking up phone calls, some people go the extent of, you know, you said you put your phone in do not disturb. That means you do not get texts, you do not get phone calls as well, and emails as well, because it's in do not disturb. So how do you ascertain what is important and what is not important, or how do you go about it later on? Because if it happens once, it probably cannot happen again.
Yes.
Especially if it's from an employer, it's very important, right? Or maybe even a family member, even a friend, depending on what emergency was at hand.
Okay, so now let me explain my case scenario that I gave of the do not disturb mode. I put my phone in do not disturb mode on certain days. Well, sometimes there are days when I do it throughout the week, and that is at 10 p.m. But I'm an early riser. By 3:30, by 4 a.m. I am up. I mean, I would be able to turn on my phone, get the messages. If I need to prepare for the next day, get my mind to it. Yes, I can be last minute things really freak me out. But again, if a job needs to be done, if an assignment needs to be done, then, and I'm able to get that communication at about 4 a.m., then why not put your mind together again? Then also you said how you know the what. There are phone calls that you see and they ring and you know, my G has called for Lugambo.
It could be an assumption.
Not ready for
it
this.
Could just be an assumption.
Trust me, there are people that you always know that this one is going to make you laugh. You go past midnight. Then you know this one is calling you for plot. Then when the phone call of your employer comes in, you know, oh, this could be serious. Or what you can do is pick up and say, I'm in the middle of something. Please send me a message. Simple, courteous. But also, you see, that is one thing I feel like Ugandans, we have failed to adopt to, especially when it comes to the employer-employee sort of relationship. We tend not to respect both ourselves. You're an employer, I'm the employee, or I'm the employer and the employee, vice versa it might be. I mean, I would never call my HR, I would never call my CEO, I would never call my boss at a certain time or hour, or even send them a WhatsApp message. I would probably send an email. But in Uganda, we have made it so easy that we can even call our employers and our employees at 10 p.m., you know, even while it might be important or crucial. Can you for one moment think that you might be the reason as to why someone's marriage would come to a standstill? Let me give you an opinion that I was actually reading here. And this one came in from the African Woman. And they said 60% of the relationships break because of late night phone calls. And in most cases, it could actually be work. It could be, as you know, it may not be even the opposite sex or something. It could just be plain simple work. But your partner may not be comfortable with that. So at the end of the day, again, it goes back to morals. It goes back to phone etiquette. It goes back to being courteous. It's not every day when you'll have someone who will go into an emergency. I mean, the best, for me, the major reason as to why I turn off my phone at 10 p.m. is because of my mental health. I need to rest. I need to zone out from the cavalry of the world and reflect on me. Otherwise, if I keep my phone on, the people I have in my contact list can go on and on and on.
But you see, there are people who are in certain professions that do not have the luxury to not have their phone on hand or answer them. People in law enforcement, people in the health department, you know, health workers, you know, doctors are always on call and always have to be on standby in case of an emergency. Lawyers. Okay, you can get a call from your client in the middle of the night. I have been arrested for this and this case. Do you understand what I mean? So there are some professions where you don't have the luxury to not answer your phone call because it could be a life or death situation for one of your clients or patients. So to ascertain the what, Shivan gave her reasons. She says that for her, it's, you know, for rest and health. Yes. You understand. But for me, on my hand, it's more of, I always want to have an open source of communication. And it's also very important to understand and know how to communicate to somebody after work hours. And these are people who are in different professions. Say, for instance, you're done doing your 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours of work. So how does an employer communicate with the employee after working hours. So I think some workplaces actually ask, how can we best communicate with you after your work hours? Should we send emails? Should we send you SMSs? Should we send you WhatsApp? Or you would prefer a phone call? That's why you see some people, they're like, right now he's off, send him a WhatsApp. He'll be able to read it. That's why, like for instance, when you walk into some offices and say you meet with a prospect client, their secretary or PA is going to say, they're always busy, but if you send a WhatsApp, he will respond. If you send an SMS, he will respond. Or he prefers phone calls. Do you understand what I mean? So I think to ascertain that, you need to understand what somebody's preferred means of communication is, and how they will respond to you. With a lot of teenagers, if you call them, they're not going to answer. You send them a WhatsApp because they're always texting. Yes, there are a number of people who would never answer their phone calls. Even with our friends, we know who to call and who to text.
Okay. I'd like to interject, because both of you have talked about the issue of, if you don't want a phone call, past a certain time, then they should text you. But then again, sometimes, especially, let me put it back in the Ugandan setting, our network, especially the internet network, it's very slow. And also there are times maybe when you are downtown, or it could be anywhere where you cannot pull out your phone, to read a text message. Yes. Or sometimes you take a long time, could be hours before you see a text message. And maybe could be an emergency, whether it's at work, whether it's at home, whether it's with your husband, it could be anyone. So how effective, because for me, I feel like a phone call is actually more effective more than a text.
But you're giving the example of you could be downtown and you're in a place not able to pull out your phone. So downtown you're able to talk on phone, but you're not able to read a text.
When a phone call, yes, no, here's the thing. When a phone call comes through when you're downtown, at least you can hear that your phone is ringing, right? And then you'll step aside, or maybe you could be wearing headsets or AirPods, whatever it is that you have, and you pick up the phone call, right? But with a text message, you'll probably not even hear the notification at all. And maybe it goes up to about 9 or 10, could be 10 hours only for you to get to your phone and you're seeing this text message, which was actually very emergent.
Or the other option could be, you're calling me and my phone is in silent. Even the phone calls I will not hear. Again, guys, I think we all need to get a system of communication that works for us. I like to communicate on WhatsApp. I like to use phone calls, yes? However, when it comes to SMSs, I am not very effective. Like my SMSs could stay there even for a month. So I keep telling people the best way to get to me during the day, send me a WhatsApp. I am always online 24/7. Why? Again, what Sarah highlighted, because of the profession that I do, I'm a media person, I'm a media personality. It's very important for me to keep on top of my game. So I am always online, swiping through, regardless of where I am. So if you are sending me a WhatsApp, I will definitely respond to you. If you are sending me a call during the day, I will respond. But again, when you're asking the question of how effective messages are, they are effective. People communicate through SMSs all the time. You do not, they're actually cheaper.
Yes,
they're cheaper than calling. Yes. For some people, they are cheaper. Not everyone can afford to make a phone call. Some people text. Let's look at the fact that there are some people whose phones even have hearing problems or things like that. It's easier to text. So I do not think it should be a very big issue when we're talking about how effective a message is. They're actually effective because people get communication through messages. Back in the days, people used to write letters. Didn't they, Rich? Did we die?
No, this is the thing. For different age groups, there is a different effective means of communication. I personally prefer phone calls, because if it is urgent, you're definitely going to call me or you're going to beep me. Even if it's on WhatsApp and you're making a WhatsApp call, it's a lot more effective because you're going to grab my attention at that moment, and I'm going to be able to see your phone call displayed on my screen, even if I missed it. But when it comes to messages, for me, for instance, I'm having hundreds and hundreds of messages building up on top of each other. So what are the chances that I'm going to see your urgent call or your urgent message where you're saying, oh, Sarah, I'm stranded, call me back, or I'm here, come and find me? Could be somebody has piled on memes upon memes upon memes upon memes on top of your message, and I'm not able to see it in the right time. So for me, I think phone calls are the urgent means of communication. And even if you are calling for help, calling for an ambulance, you're not going to send a WhatsApp. You're going to call them.
With the way our healthcare system is very ineffective. You have heard of stories where people are calling, for an ambulance when there's an emergency. Maybe a woman is in labor, and they take about 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
So if they make that phone call to you and you're a neighbor, you would be actually in position to help. So honestly, for me, I feel like yes. And Siobhan, I'll interject a little bit on what you said earlier. You said messages are very effective for you. But let me take it a little bit personal. There's a time I texted you around 10 p.m. and what I needed was something that would be used the next day. But you didn't see my message until 5 a.m. in the morning.
Nanti, she switches
Really?
off her phone.
Yes, you
After-
did not.
after
So
10
really?
The question would
Maybe it's because it was me, or maybe because it was me.
Are you a priority?
But work is a
But
priority.
however, I do remember what she texted me about. It wasn't.
And you saw it the next day.
But I still came through with what you wanted, didn't I?
But then again, I
came
needed
through with
clarification
what you
in
wanted.
that time. At that time.
I think our major emphasis, and you talked about, is it you might be the person that is going to save this person. I think let's stop being also, what is the word, pessimistic as well. Why are you for younger? You're the only one. Your friends are always having problems. It is always your neighbor who is not able to call the ambulance. Kugamba, the people around you.
Shivan, that is a very tone-deaf
I'm
statement.
not saying, yes, again, I am saying, let's learn not to be pessimistic. Let's learn to be optimistic about certain things. Don't always be there and say, I don't want to switch off my phone. What if I'm the only hope of someone? No. We cannot live life like that. That is living life on the edge. If you are going to be someone's help at that time, you will indeed be. You guys, God works in miracles.
No,
It's not guaranteed.
Would you have the same energy if it was you who needed your next of kin and they were not available? I think let us not.
Pessimistic.
Auntie, and I'm saying, but your example and how you followed that up with was very tone deaf. To say that we are not going to live our lives on edge waiting for people to call us. That is not.
I did not say for people to call us. I did
for
not say
people
for
to
people to
rely
call
on
us.
us. That why is it you that the people have to? You just said that. But what I'm saying is that I think you will have to keep that same energy when you're the one in an emergency. I think let us be a lot more sensitive to this fact. Just like you have next of kin, there are people who regard you as a next of kin. And if it is communicated very clearly to your friends that for you after 10 p.m. you don't answer calls, you don't respond to messages, then that is fine, let it be known. But let us not say things like that, because that is actually beyond ridiculous.
Okay, let's go back to the issue, because we're digressing already. We're talking about the issue of late night calls. So now let's talk about the duration. There are people who go as far as an hour, depending on who they are in your life. So how do you ascertain what duration, who should call you for how long? If they're calling you, let's say it's your friend at night, I'm talking about at night, for how long should they call you? How long can you be on phone for? And then again, I'm saying this because there's people who are not bold enough, to talk to their friends and like, you know what, I'm actually tired. I feel like I need to sleep. So how do you make that boundary of saying, only 30 minutes, it cannot go beyond 30 minutes or an hour?
This is about phone calls.
Late night phone calls.
Okay, late night phone calls.
Yes.
It is going to be for as long as the conversation needs to go on. Do you understand what I mean? Like, say for you cannot put a time limit to it. If somebody is communicating and say, hey, Age, I need this and this and this for work tomorrow, it's like, okay, I'm sending, done, period, finished, over.
Okay.
If somebody is calling you and say, oh, by the way, did you see what so and so what this party last night? It's like, yeah, that's very funny. But right now, I'm really tired. Can we have this conversation in the morning? So I think you should only have the conversation for as long as it goes on. Because sometimes you're even having conversations with people late in the night and then there's like a moment of silence. In that moment is the time for you to say good night. You get, for me, it's for as long as it should be. Especially in the night, people want to rest, people are tired, or it should be, unless it's probably your lover and you miss each other and having a long distance relationship, and maybe there's a time difference of, you understand, maybe they're in a country where it's in the morning and for you are here in the night. Maybe you can put a limit there and say, you know what, let's chat and catch up for about this time, maybe 30 to 1 hour, so that I can rest over here.
Would that apply the same? Would that apply as well to your employer? Because it's someone that you probably respect.
This is
and you will not say, you know what, I need to sleep. You'll probably sit and have to listen to whatever they have to say.
Why is my employer calling me? To rant?
They do
to
call
vent?
you. They do call you. They could call in, because there's those who are not as respectful as others.
Then
so
tell
they'll call
them
you at any time of the night, and they want to talk for as long as they want to, and you have to be on the phone listening to what they have to say, because they are your employer.
I think if it comes to a place like that, then you're now starting to be harassed, and you need to draw boundaries on that. Because if your employer or your boss is calling you in the middle of the night to tell you utter rubbish, utter nonsense, or tell you about their problems in the work, you're there to work, not to be their therapist. I mean, there's HR to hear these problems, no? Not me. You get? So with the employer, they're supposed to call you and tell you what it is that they need. It has to be a need, not a want. It's a need. It has to be a matter of importance. Why are you calling me after work hours? And after they have communicated that, Sarah, tomorrow I may not be coming in, so I need you to do this, 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 and this. Understood, sir? Have a good night. Poop, done. Or just don't answer the call. Do not answer the call. Or maybe cut the call off and send a very respectful text message and say, I'm sorry, sir, I'm tending to my family at this time. Is there something that you needed? Kindly text. Do you understand?
Yes.
But why are you listening to Kavozi from your boss? You're not being paid for these therapy sessions.
Siobhan, what is your take on this whole duration? Phone call duration, especially at night, late night, because that is what we are talking about.
Well, first of all, I don't do very many late night conversations, but if they are must, I mean, you cannot have a duration to a conversation. Conversations keep flowing. If the conversation is not flowing, it's definitely cut off. But if it's flowing, I mean, there are times when I talk to my friends for almost 2 hours, 1 hour, 3 hours, and we are talking on phone and just beating kebi. So when it comes to duration, I would not have a time limit. However, of course, to concur with what Sarah said, when it comes to the employer, of course, call me, tell me what you want, off. If not, send me a message. So, because also it brings in the aspect of boundaries. You see, I keep telling people treat you the way you want to be treated.
Okay.
Many times people treat us a certain way because we have allowed them to treat us that way. When someone treats you a certain way, or someone disrespects your boundaries, let them know that there are consequences, or let them know that when you do this, when you call me at this time, I will not pick up until you send a message. And actually, you have a right, because these things are either stated in your contract or they're just code work ethics. Simple. So if your employer, or especially when it comes to employer, if your employer or the person that you're working with cannot respect that, then you start to draw the boundaries of the lines.
Okay, now talking about phone call boundaries, late night phone call boundaries. You could set boundaries and say, you know what, don't call me beyond 8 p.m. Don't call me beyond 9 p.m. But we are human. Sometimes there's exceptions to every rule, yeah?
Yes.
And you could pick up a phone call once in a while you told them, do not call me past 8. And then you'll pick it up once or twice. And I mean, someone could think that it's meaningless. And before you know it, they're actually not respecting the boundaries anymore, because you have given them a leeway, right? Because if you've set your boundaries and you have said 8 p.m., do not call me past 8 p.m. Why are you now picking up calls past 8 p.m.? Well, for me, honestly, that's what I would do. I would be like, oh, okay, I think boundaries can actually, you can break the boundaries.
The thing about boundaries is you have to keep on reinstating them, okay? You have to repeat it as much as possible. Repeat it, all the time. I told you not past 8 p.m. When they call you and you answer, you say, what is the emergency? Is there an emergency? If there's no emergency, hang up the call. You don't have to listen to that. It's not an emergency. Do you understand what I mean? If it is an emergency, I've understood. And then you tell them, kindly reaffirm and say, next time, if it is after 8 p.m., text me, or I will not answer. And this is the thing about drawing boundaries. Now, by you telling me, it doesn't have to stop there. You have to go on to implement it and execute, and to will show them, I will not answer your call after this time. I had my previous employer had that habit. And then the next day I would always get reprimanded for not answering the calls. And it actually got so toxic to the place I'm asking myself, like, you don't own my free hours. I can do whatever it is that I want. I don't have to answer your calls because you're calling to tell me nonsense. Literally, nonsense. So when I moved from that place and my next employment, I made it very clear with everyone. If it is as serious as a heart attack, text.
Should be a do or die.
It should be, please.
It should be a dying
Text.
situation.
Yes, it has to be a dire situation. Text. I will see you because I have the right to have my time off, time to cater to my family, time to cater to my kids, time to myself. You know, sometimes I just want to sit in isolation and just enjoy the serenity. But there are phone calls that I will answer in the middle of the night. Say if it is from family, because that is peculiar and odd. If it is from close friends, it is of course peculiar and odd, and also from people I haven't heard from for a long time. It's very odd, so I would be curious, what do you want? But the minute I find, because you can tell what somebody wants to tell you like in the first minute of the conversation.
Really?
Yes, you can tell. If it is an emergency, Aggie, I'm not calling you, hi Aggie, how are you? Are you okay? Yeah, okay. No, you're not going to do that. I'm going to call you right away and say, hi Aggie, I need your help. This is it. If you have not told me what you want in the first 30 seconds, I'm going to tell you, you know what? Thank you for calling. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
You've actually reminded me of a very interesting story that I came across, and I don't remember where I read it. So this little teenager, or should I say youth or something, her phone was kept on ringing off the hook, and it was her auntie that was calling her. I think her auntie kept on calling her. And then when she went back home, her auntie asked her, why weren't you picking my calls? And then she said, I just did not want to pick. I was busy and I was in the middle of something. So her auntie told her, but I bought you the phone. Eh? You charge your battery from my house. So it brings me to the aspect of, if someone bought for you the phone, do you still not pick their phone calls? Or do you owe it to them to pick their phone calls? Very tricky situation.
By
But
your
anyway,
own
move
phone.
on.
Not entitled. Anyway, and these are some of the ways that you can actually avoid late night phone calls and how to make it clear to your people that, you know what, do not call me past this time and these are my reasons. The first one is you ask the caller to stop calling you late at night. Make it clear to them. Do not assume that they know that you shouldn't call. They shouldn't call you past a certain time that you have set for yourself. And the next one is tell the caller how you are being affected by their frequent calling. Siobhan earlier talked about her mental health, that she doesn't want people to call her beyond a certain time for the case of her mental health. So you can actually tell those people and tell them, for this particular reason, because I need enough rest, because I had a long day, because I have long days, I wouldn't want you to call me past a certain time. And the other one is set boundaries for calls. And the fourth one is stick to your boundaries, because you could actually set those boundaries and not stick to them. So many of us, fall culprit. We set boundaries here and there and we do not follow through, and we expect people to treat us. You talked about setting precedent for how people should treat you. But then also you as a person, you need to be sure of how you should be treated. Do not say, I need to be treated like this, and you're acting otherwise. Do not say, do not call me past this and this time, and then you're picking up that phone call and making it, picking those phone calls over and over again. People will take you for granted and they'll go on calling you. And then the other thing, it's funny, but yeah, you can set your schedule. Tell people, if you want a long phone call of about 30 minutes, call me between this and this time. That is when I have time. Yes.
Then there is also talk to the perpetrators of calling people after 10 p.m. You people, respect people's space. People need to understand, if it is not urgent, after 8 p.m., because usually people are home by 8 p.m., 9 p.m. on a work day, that is between Monday and Friday. Please respect people's, time, respect their space and, their moment to want to just rejuvenate and, spend time with their loved ones. Like, desist if you don't have anything important to tell somebody after 8 p.m. Do not call. If you just thought about them, send an SMS or send a text. Like, if it is not serious, they'll see it the next day, they'll see it later, and maybe they will, engage you in it. But if it is not important, and I mean if it is not as serious as a heart attack, Leave people alone, okay?
Funny thought. I talked
Leave
about
people alone.
It makes sense. I thought of when we talked about the 10 p.m. and me putting my phone on do not disturb. I remember that actually every year on 1st June, because it's my birthday, I leave my phone on just in case someone wants to call at midnight to sing for me. So that is the only exception.
You're so silly. For me, matter of fact, on my birthday, I mute all my messages because there's so many coming in and there's so much distraction. And the people who call, now those are my people, like my mom, my siblings, those are people who call. So those are the ones who call, I answer, but the text messages I will respond the next month. Yeah, sometime in the next month.
Well, you had it from the ladies, and now we're talking about phone call etiquette. So make sure that you follow people's boundaries. When they say do not call me this time, then do not call them. Well, that is what we had for you on this segment of Our Views. But right now, as we speak, the body of the fallen speaker, Right Honorable Jacob Oulanyah, the late, is being taken to Kololo Airstrip for public viewing, and also not public viewing, but national mourning. So you can go to Kololo Airstrip if you're, I talked about if you're a good citizen, you can, go to Kololo Airstrip and be able, to pay your last respects to the late Right Honorable Jacob Oulanyah. And also you can follow every proceeding on CTV Uganda because we shall be airing that live. Well, that is what we had for you. Stay tuned at Sunrise at Sea.
Well, it's exactly 54 minutes past the hour of 8, and we do thank you for being a part of Sunrise at Sea right from the hour of 7 a.m. up until 9 a.m. Well, if you missed any segment in this show, worry not, because later on all the episodes will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. Also, CTV crew will be streaming live the events that will be taking place at the Kololo Independence Grounds. Of course, as MPs, ministers, friends and well-wishers come together as a country as we mourn the fallen speaker, that is the late Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament of the 11th Parliament, that was Mr. Jacob Oulanyah. May his soul rest in eternal peace. And later on, of course, we shall be bringing you in our news bulletin more details in regard to what will be transpiring there. Not forgetting that the Fountain of Power, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, will be the chief mourner at this event. And of course, more information will be coming in as we continue viewing. Otherwise, from the team and we wish you a lovely day, and of course all roads lead to the Kololo Independence Grounds as we mourn the fallen speaker.